Today we're going to look at unit conversions. We have 2 days of converting units. Yesterday was only a 1-day lesson because solving literal equations, although it is important, is not nearly as important as solving and getting conversions of your units. So we kind of left that behind us. You'll see it on your review today. But one of the most important skills in our lives is converting units, and that's because many times we are looking for the weight of something in pounds, but the package gives it the weight in ounces. Other times we're looking for how long something is in feet, but the paper describes the length in yards or miles. There are some talented students, some talented people who can convert things in their heads, and I commend that. Unfortunately, there are difficult levels of conversions that exist, and that's what we're going to see on Monday. So we have to learn a system that works 100% of the time without guessing. And unfortunately, even though some of you are very good at doing these in your head, I need you to understand that you have to do them the right way. And in terms of the right way, I mean doing the way that I'm showing you now if you want your points. So simply telling me the answer because you're smart enough to do it is not going to get you your points. You have to follow this system that I'm putting down here so you can prove to me that you learned it. Today we're going to learn how to convert a conversion sentence into a fraction, and then we'll learn how to determine how to use that to convert very basic problems. Be sure not to look at today's work without paying attention to what's going on, because this is the first of 2 lessons. What you should not do is look and say, this is too easy, I'm not going to pay attention, because what happens whenever you do that on days like this is that Monday when you see me and the question gets more difficult, you'll be asking me 50 questions about what's going on because you did not get the first part down. And that's really all today is about, is just giving you a chance to get the very, very basic foundation of information down so that you know what's going on. So conversion sentences, there are many things that we know to be equal. Each of these things can be converted into what we call a conversion sentence. Some examples of things that we know is that there are 24 hours in a day. Because of that, we could use a conversion sentence. 24 hours equals 1 day. That could be a conversion sentence. Again, notice it has the equal sign. It has a unit over here. It has a unit over there. That's it. Another thing we know is that there are 60 seconds in a minute. And so we could turn that into a conversion sentence of 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute. We also know that 3 feet equal 1 yard, or 3 feet are in a yard. We could turn that into a conversion sentence of 3 feet equals 1 yard. So all of these are conversion sentences. A conversion sentence is simply 2 numbers that are equal with 2 different units on 2 different sides of the equal sign. Alright? So again, if there is something that is equal, or it says something is equal, that is your conversion sentence. And it says each conversion sentence can be used if we turn into a fraction. For example, the conversion sentence for 24 hours equals 1 day can be turned into 2 fractions. The first one would be 24 hours over 1 day. The second day would be 1 day over 24 hours. Notice again that 24 hours is the same as 1 day. And what happens whenever you divide something by itself? If I divided 8 by itself, or 10 by itself, or 6 by itself, the answer is 1, which means that this fraction really just simply has a value of 1. But all we did was we took this fraction or this sentence and we put one of them on the top, the other one on the bottom, then we put one on the bottom and the other one on the top. And so as it says here, notice that all we did was take each side and place it in each part, or place each part in the numerator and denominator. So let's practice doing this by turning each of the following conversion sentences into fractions. So this skill is very important today, so what we're going to do again is just kind of walk through it. If you have the conversion sentence about 5,280 feet equaling 1 mile, we can write 5280 ft because you can kind of shorten that over 1 mi, which is 1 mile. Or we could do it as 1 mile on top over 5280 feet. Again, I would recommend that you use abbreviations because some of those words, like for example the next thing we're looking at is fluid ounces, gets kind of long to write and you really don't want to write all that. I just recommend that whatever shortcut you use, make sure you use the same shortcut for all of them. So if you put M, which really isn't mile, but if you were to put M for mile, just make sure you use M all the way through. But MI is mile, M is meter, FT is feet, C, so when I do 1 cup equals 8 fluid ounces, that's my conversion sentence. I can put 1 cup over 8 fluid ounces, or I can put 8 fluid ounces over 1 cup. And so again, that's what you're looking at. You can put this on top with the other one on the bottom, or you can put this on the bottom with the other one on top. That is how you can turn a conversion sentence into a fraction. 1 pound equals 16 ounces. One of the things that we know for pounds is that they put it as lbs and oz is ounces. So 1 pound over 16 ounces would be one way to do it, or we could put 16 ounces over 1 pound. Either one of those two work. That is fine. I'm going to tell you right now, I have no idea what the abbreviation for acre is, so I'm just going to write acre. So 1 acre over 43,560 square feet. Or we could do 43,560 square feet over 1 acre. So again, that's how you convert a sentence into a fraction. And really, again, all you're doing is taking each part and kind of putting one on the top, one on the bottom. It says once we know how to create the fractions, create the fractions, that should be CRE. Create the fractions, we must work on choosing the proper fraction to use. When we convert units, we are trying to cancel the units by placing the unwanted unit on the bottom of the fraction. So today what we're going to be doing is I'm going to give you the problem and a conversion sentence, and all you will have to do is create the fraction by picking the one you want to get rid of, choose the correct one, and find the answer. This is best learned by practice. Let's try some out before moving on to your classroom practice for the day and then getting your assessment for the day also. First thing you're going to see is question mark miles equals 9,000 feet. And so you will write that out. Question mark miles equals 9,000 feet. And then you'll put a fraction down next to it because we are going to use a fraction to get rid of it. And the way you determine what goes where is you say, I do not want feet because I want miles, and so this is what should go on the bottom. Well, if feet are going to go on the bottom, it means that this has to go on the bottom. And if that's on the bottom, then obviously this has to be on the top. That's the first part you have to learn. The second part is, if the number's on the bottom, you're going to divide. If the number's on top, you're going to multiply. So what we would do here is 9,000 divided by 5280, and just go ahead and round that to 2 decimal places. It's about 1.70 miles, because I know that that's what I'm looking for over here. So 9,000 feet is about 1.70 miles. Again, you type this number in and you divide if it's on the bottom, or you multiply if that number is on the top. It makes no difference what we do with that 1, because the 1 really doesn't do anything for us. Alright. Looking at the next one, question mark days equals 11 months. First off, go ahead and write it out for yourself, and then put the multiplication and the fraction right next to it. This is the easiest way, or the most surefire way to do it, that never leaves you any mistakes. We now understand we want to get rid of months. Again, because that's what's here. If we want to get rid of months, we have to put months on the bottom, which means that's what goes on the bottom, which means that this is what goes on the top. Again, your months cancel out, kind of like your feet cancel out up here, because you have one on the bottom, one on the top. And because this 30 is on top, you're going to multiply. So this time we type our 11, but now we do times 30 to get 330 days. Again, on the bottom, like we saw here, you did 9,000 divided by 5280. On the top, it's 11 times 30. Again, you can ignore the ones because the ones really don't do anything for you. Question mark cups equals 35 quarts. Again, the first thing you want to do is write it down. Question mark C equals 35 Q. I think I'll just put QT for quart. But question mark cups equals 35 quarts. And again, we are going to use a fraction to eliminate this, because quarts is what we don't want. We're going to put quarts on the bottom, which means this is what goes on the bottom, which means obviously that 4 cups is what goes on top. Quarts cancel out with quarts. Because 4 is on top, we are going to multiply 35 times 4, getting the answer of 140 cups. Alright. A couple more. And again, use this time to use the practice time to ask questions once that happens, if it's starting to kind of get shaky, just get these down and ask some questions or bring it back and I'll be glad to explain it to you. Question mark pounds, remember that's LB equals 98 ounces OZ. Again, we are going to use a fraction to get rid of it. What we are getting rid of here is ounces, which means that ounces has to go on the bottom. So 16 ounces must go here, which means that 1 pound has to go there. Ounces cancel with ounces because you have a regular ounce and an ounce on the bottom. And because 16 is on the bottom, we will divide 98 divided by 16 to get the answer of 6.125, which because it stops, I'll just put that down. 6.125 pounds. So something that weighs 98 ounces is about 6 pounds. And then the last thing we're going to do is square feet to 2,000 square inches. So question mark SQFT equals 2,000, or 2,000 SQIN, because that's usually what your inches is. Again, I want to get rid of square inches because square inches is here. That means I want square inches on the bottom, which means this has to go on the bottom, which means that this has to go on the top. Square inches cancel out with square inches, and because 144 is on the bottom, I will divide. Again, bottom numbers you divide by. 2,000 divided by 144 equals about 13.89 square feet is what we're looking at. So be sure to work the problems out the same way I just did. Again, if you're not using the fraction today, then you can just assume that you're going to get it wrong. Please don't try to be too proud. You cannot do that until after the test or after the quiz. After the quiz you can kind of get away with it, but for right now make sure you're doing it with the fraction. Otherwise you're going to start getting confused Monday when the problems get more difficult. Work hard to practice and review. These questions will continue to get us ready for the test and the final exam for the semester. I do have questions on from earlier in the year because we don't want to start forgetting those, and again we do have about 8 weeks, a little bit less than 8 weeks now before we take the final, so keep that in mind. Good luck today.